Hi and welcome back. In this video, we're going to see a short example of how we can pass arrays from one procedure to another. Recall that in earlier videos, we looked at how we could pass values from one procedure to another through parameters. When we defined our parameters, we used a keyword ByVal, and at that time we talked about how ByVal stands for by value and refers to the fact that when by value is used, a copy of the value itself is passed to the parameter. So now we're going to explore pass by reference. So pass by reference is something that can be used instead of by val. And in particular, it's used when we are passing an array to another procedure. So when we pass by reference, it means that instead of taking a copy of the value being passed, the actual memory address of the variable is passed. So putting this in context of an array, which is what we're going to use in our example, when we use ByRef, which stands for by reference, we're actually passing the memory address of the array to the second procedure. The significance of this is that if that second procedure then changes any of the values stored in the array, because it is using and accessing the same memory as the calling procedure, the values will be changed in both the second procedure as well as the original procedure that called the second. So this is due to the fact that they're really pointing to the same block of memory. So to pass by reference in Visual Basic, you can use, or you should use, the word ByRef. So is passing by reference just for arrays? No. We're going to use that as an example, but just so you know, you can use ByRef when passing just simple values such as integers and doubles instead of collections of values. So let's look at an example. I have a simple example where I have defined and initialized an array called ages inside of main. And then this first portion of submain will loop through and output every element in that array. So recall that arrays have values where each value has a position. So this particular array is a size 6 array, and each element has a position starting at position 0 for the first element. So this loop starts at 0 and goes up to the length, which is really the size of the array, minus 1. And we say minus 1 because we don't want to go quite as far as the length that would be out of bounds of the array. So we have this for loop that loops through for every position 0 to the end of the array so that we can access each time through the loop a new element in the array. So the reason why we want to do that is we want to loop through and display all the values in the array. So this for loop loops through, prints out the array, and this for loop down here does exactly the same thing. In fact, it's a copy and paste of the code. In between time, I call a sub-procedure called double the values. So let's take a look at double the values in just a moment. But I want to point out that double the values is being passed one argument, ages, but ages is itself a collection, it's an array. So here I'm passing an array as an argument. Notice no special syntax is required. So for that to work, we need to have had defined a procedure called double the values ahead of time that receives an array as a parameter. So notice, to specify that a parameter of a type array is received, we need to specify a name. We've called this array numbers. Notice the names do not need to match. Followed by parentheses. This indicates it's an array of integers. And notice we're using ByRef. Arrays are always passed by reference, meaning that when main passed ages up here in line 15, when it invoked double the values, a copy of the array was not passed, but rather the memory location. So by passing by reference, we're literally passing a pointer to the address in memory. So therefore, this for loop, which actually takes every element in the array and doubles it, when this occurs, it affects that array numbers. But as we'll see, because it is in fact the same memory as ages, when we come back to main and we output every element in ages, we'll see that all of the values have been doubled. So here we see the ages at the beginning of main and the ages at the end of main. And notice that every element has been doubled. So once again, the difference between ByVal and ByRef. ByVal takes a copy of whatever is being passed, and the parameter occupies a new place in memory. However, when we use ByRef, instead of a copy of ages being passed, we actually pass the address behind the scenes of the array. So therefore, we're really working with the same data value. So any changes that are made to that variable, or in this case to the array, will actually change the underlying memory referenced in main as well.